do you really believe what a biblical writer believed about the unseen supernatural realm or not? Because what we have is we have Christians who, well, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus and the Spirit. Got to have the Trinity, or got to do that. Got angels, demons, and Satan. End of list. End of story. The supernatural, unseen realm of an Israelite, a first-century Jew, is a whole lot wider than that. The real problem is not that the culture again is moving that way. It's that people in the church have been desensitized and dumbed down, so that they can't hear certain things and then immediately think, okay, this is how Scripture addresses this. This is a theological principle that I can use to talk about this other thing. Mm-hmm. And it's because of exactly what you just said. Mm-hmm. This whole, again, we can sit here and joke about sermonettes for Christianettes, but that is serious.
It is.
People don't get content. If I want to lapse here in a little bit of a personal testimony. Yeah, I got lots of degrees. Yes, I have a PhD. Yeah, I do translation in all sorts of languages. Okay, my first contact with the gospel was through someone, a divorced mother of four, single mom of four, living next to my grandmother. And I went to my grandmother's house a lot because my parents had been divorced. So my first exposure is being invited to this kid's living room and hearing them do family Bible time. I knew, and you're going to think I'm lying, but this is not an exaggeration. I'm living in America and I'm 9 or 10 years old. I knew who Adam and Eve were. I had heard of Jesus, and I had heard of Noah. That was it. Wow. I was tapped with 3 names. So I'm telling you that to encourage you. Look, I think people are regularly underestimated by the academic community and frankly by your ministers, your churches. I am the result not of some, I'm not like, oh, Mike's brilliant, he's like a genius in genetic. No, I'm not. Okay, I'm not. I am the cumulative result of 5 minutes a day.
Wow.
That is what I am. It's like it is never too late to start studying Scripture.
So good.
Take 5 minutes a day.
So good.
Just learn.
So good.
Just learn something new every day. Just do the math.
Yeah.
At the end of a year, I got 365 new things. You just do the math.
Yeah.
And so we want you to get content. I mean, this is my passion. I think you can tell. Again, this is my one-string banjo. That people are ready for content. Yeah. And if the church starts learning to think biblically and theologically, we may not be able to reverse the course of the entire culture, even though that's not out of the question. That has happened before. The church does have a track record there. But at the very least, we can be a voice of opposition that is clear. Mm-hmm. We can speak with clarity on things. Because frankly, we like to talk about how millennials, how they just are bouncing around and they, there is no such thing as truth anymore. Mm-hmm. If you actually talk to young people, they get sick of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, they actually want someone to stand for something.
Right. Yes.
Even if they don't like it.
That's right.
At least they stand for something. And it's not just this wishy-washy nonsense. So this is a place to start. Derek's book is a place to start.
Yes.
In my earlier books, Unseen Realm is much wider in scope than this. And there's kind of a light version of Unseen Realm called Supernatural. Again, this is the thing that I care about, and so I'm really grateful to be here. I'm no longer, as a scholar, going to protect people from their Bible. Okay?
I love it.
I'm not going to do that anymore.
That's a brilliant statement.
People can get it little by little, just like I did. There's no magic here. Okay, it's just tenacity. It's just doing the task and being patient, keeping at it. Most Christians you'll run into are what I refer to as selectively supernatural. And my context isn't Pentecostalism and like the groups that would be associated with the gifts and all that. I'm more boring than that. Okay. So that isn't my context. I'm not speaking from that platform. I'm just telling you that, again, as a scholar, Unseen Realm asked a really uncomfortable question It's the same question that reversing Hermon is asking. And I ask it of the reader, and it's also a question asked of believing, really people, scholars who are truly Christians. They're not just Christian in name only. But the question is this: do you really believe what a biblical writer believed about the unseen supernatural realm or not? Because what we have is we have Christians who, well, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus and the Spirit. Got to have the Trinity, or got to do that. Got angels, demons, and Satan. End of list. End of story. The supernatural, unseen realm of an Israelite, a first-century Jew, is a whole lot wider than that, and it's a whole lot more interactive than that. Some familiar stories here. Like in the book, I have a bunch of these, but let's just stick to the Gospels for now. When Jesus goes to Caesarea Philippi. Okay, a very familiar story. This is the story where we have Peter's conversation with Jesus. They go to Caesarea Philippi. Jesus says, well, who do men say that I am? Peter says, well, you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. And this is my paraphrase now. Jesus says, well, don't get a big head, okay? You didn't figure that out by yourself. The Spirit told you that, but you're right. And then he turns to him and says, you're Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. And then unfortunately, in most translations will have, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Right. I'm going to say something about that translation in a moment. But we all know that this is a big blow-up passage. The Roman Catholics say, well, Petra, Peter, Petros, all this stuff. Peter's the rock, and upon this rock I'll build my church. We should all be Catholics. And of course the Protestants say, no, we shouldn't do that. The rock is like in 1 Corinthians 10, where God is the rock, so Jesus is the rock, and the church is founded on him, so don't be Catholics. I don't think either of them are right. I think upon this rock is the place where they're standing. And I get that because of the Old Testament history of that place. Okay, Caesarea Philippi in Jesus' day, there was a cult center there dedicated to Zeus and to Pan. In the Old Testament, that was a cult center for Baal.
Right.
It's located in the region of Bashan, which is at the northernmost part of the tribal land allotted to the tribes. Bashan was known in Deuteronomy 2 and 3 as the residence of the vestiges, the last vestiges of the Rephaim. Again, these the Dead Sea Scrolls actually refers to them as bastard spirits, because they come from the Nephilim, okay? So this is where the last of them live. In non-biblical texts, Canaanite literature, there are two cities in that region that show up in Deuteronomy 3, Ashtaroth and Edrei, that were known to Canaanites as the gates of hell, the gateways to the underworld. Right. So Jesus shows up here at Caesarea Philippi, and he has this conversation with Peter, and what he's really saying is, look, right here is where it begins. Okay, I'm going to build my church, and we're going to start right here. And instead of translating it, the gates of hell will not prevail against it, if we had an interlinear Bible and I could show you, there's no preposition for against there in the Greek New Testament. You should translate it, the gates of hell will not be able to withstand it. Now that changes the whole image, because if it's the gates of hell will not be able to prevail against it, it's like the church is cowering in the corner, taking a beating. We're going to survive because we're the church. God's with us. No. If you do it the other way, the church is the one administering the beating. Right. Jesus is saying, look, we all know what this place is. We all know it's associated with the underworld realm of the dead. Baal, again, this isn't Bible, this is Canaanite literature. Baal was known as Baal-Zebul, Prince Baal, Lord of the underworld, Lord of the dead. That's why he becomes a Satan figure to Jews, okay? Jesus is saying, we're going to take Baal's turf and we're going to turn it into his tomb. Okay, this is where it begins. And then the scripture says, well, a few days later, they go up into the mountain. Well, there's only one mountain there.
Right.
It's Mount Hermon.
Right.
Okay, and Hermon, again, has this association with the Watchers. This is the place where, according to Enoch, that they descend to do what they can to humanity. They go up into the mountain with Peter, James, and John, and what happens there? It's the transfiguration.
Yes.
Why does Jesus pick this place to show who he was? Well, I'll tell you why he does it. He's picking a fight. The gateways to the realm of the dead, where Satan is, and poke him in the eye there. Then they go up into Hermon. They poke the Watchers in the eye there, and then this is why it's important. Then the Gospels say, from this point forward, he began to teach his disciples that he had to go back to Jerusalem and die.
Right.
Okay, and they're freaked out. Because it's like, what do you mean? This is fun. We go over to the gates of hell. We poke him in the eye. We go up to Mount Hermon, and you do this. This is awesome. And now you're talking about dying. And this is where Peter objects, and Jesus says to him, "Get behind me, Satan." And Satan is just an adversary. In other words, don't be the adversary. This has to happen, because Jesus knows something they don't. Okay, Jesus knows that he really does have to die, because guess what? Do the math. You can't have a resurrection unless you have a death.
Yeah.
Okay, he has to die. So a week later is the triumphal entry. Okay, and then a week after that, he's dead. And it's mission accomplished. I mean, it doesn't look that way, but that's the whole point. It's an epic narrative. The writers are doing intentional things in what they write, because when they drop a line, they want you to know, okay, I know where this comes from. I have seen this before, so that you'll go back and look. And then you're able to think their thoughts after them. And our focus here is on Enoch's material, and how that gets repurposed. And they do it deliberately to telegraph the message that the Messiah is the one who was expected to reverse all of this garbage.
Right.